just like that, we're back. We're back in it.
We're back in it. It's 2017 once again. And Berserk. It's more Berserk time. With Nathan and Paul. We're actually going to introduce ourselves this time. We forgot, I think, until the very last second. Yeah.
I'm Nathan and Paul. That's me.
You're Nathan and Paul, yeah. And I'm the mysterious guest. But yeah. So I don't know. Should we do like a preamble bit or something? Talk about Emo Phillips or what do you want to do?
We've already talked way too much about Emo Phillips.
Okay.
Before recording here. Yeah, but I guess like last time on Berserk, we kind of we should jump back in because where we are set, even though the last volume was very centered around Falconia and that whole thing, that last chapter, it was us touching down onto Elfhelm Island or whatever. The island, I guess, not the elf places like on the island. And
Skellig Island, I think is what it is. Yeah.
Skellig Island. And our heroes being attacked by scarecrows. And that's kind of where that left off.
I was like, this is it for them. Our heroes are totally going to get killed. And
by
it's just so not a deal. Like, there's almost remarks by the characters just like, well, this is easy. This isn't really anything to be worried about.
Yeah, it's like, after everything we've been through, it's nice to just, like, kill a bunch of target dummies, basically.
Yeah, I think Azan or whatever says that, like, just, like, training post dummies, and, like, he's bashing them with his stick. Isidro at one point says, like, whoa, long reach means you can really reach out there. That's crazy. But that means I win or something. And then he ducks in there and slashes it with his fire dagger.
I think the kind of cool thing, though, is that we got weird pumpkin vine monsters also coming from the ground, which is like, all right, this is Halloween in a way that I'm really down with right now.
Yeah, monster pumpkins totally spring up. And then Guts, just to nobody, like quietly to himself, just says like, it's a little early for a harvest festival. He just has a little cool guy line, but it's not exclamation point. I don't know that anyone hears it. It's just for his own benefit and ours. And yeah, the whole team is kind of getting some pumpkin monster slicing going on. Like Serpico's hacking up some. Isma takes one pumpkin head and smashes another pumpkin head with it because she doesn't have a weapon.
I think Serpico just does like a big whoosh with his like wind blade or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Starts dicing pumpkins.
It's nothing. It's like literally nothing.
Yeah, we have like the kind of witches that are hiding in the darkness and like, oh no, like they have magic or something. Like they're doing really good against our defenses. And then Morta flies in and says, time to up this. And then a giant wicker man stomps out there.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's pretty cool. I initially was just like, oh, it's like a Burning Man or, Wicker Man. And then they literally say it's a Wicker Man. It's like, okay, yes, it is. It's full of sacrifices or whatever, like souls of the sacrificed. And it's got two giant, like, flails of, like, burning spiky wood or something.
Yeah. It's weird.
I guess it's a reckless move. Like the other witches are like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to burn all of our crops. And it's just like, no, if you're not going to use your powers, like, why have them or whatever? Like, it's just like, we gotta go big or forget about it. So this giant thing comes out and I don't know. For some reason, they're panicking a little bit at this. Like, it's just like, oh no, this could be it for us. And then Guts kind of slides under its chain arm, aims his gun up through the whole thing and like fires a shot up through it, which fells it, and then he just slices it open like a piñata and all the souls spill out. So I guess they're free or something and it's fine. So, not really a big deal, but it looked kind of cool. But yeah, now the whole field's on fire. So what were you saying?
No, I just said it is kind of weird that there was just like a bunch of souls in this.
Yeah, it's like were these witches
that doesn't seem very
killing
friendly.
People like every year, making a Wicker Man? Like, what happened? Like, this seems bad, but
yeah,
I don't know. I guess they're not evil, so hopefully. But yeah, at this point they've screwed up, I guess. Like the other witches are like, Morta, good grief, what did you do? now we gotta do something here, team up with these people to stop this fire. And
now we have to team up. Yeah.
Although I guess it's just the great guru shows up and he can summon weather or whatever, right? So it's not a big deal. Like it's just the icebreaker, I guess, for them to start talking to each other instead of attacking them. And then they're like, we're gonna need the great guru's help. What? And then this guy rolls in on a goat and it starts raining, and it's pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah. This whole part is actually pretty neat. Also, we get introduced to the witches, of which there's 4 of them. 3 of them look like standard witches, and then you can tell Morta's like the bad troublemaker one because her boobs are
the hot witch.
Like she's the hot witch. Yeah,
sassy or something.
So it's like, so it's like, oh, okay, she's the one that's probably gonna get more like things that happen, and these other ones are like background player witches essentially.
Yeah, it's like Hocus Pocus trio. You know, they're kind of goofballs a little bit. A lot of new characters in this volume. Like it's Joni, Thune, and Kuka are the trio, and then Gedfring is the guru guy that came in. And yeah, as we said, Morta is the sassy witch or whatever. So we'll see more of her, I guess. But
she has her cleavage out, so we'll definitely see more of her probably than the other ones.
Hopefully. I mean, it seems great.
Yeah, totally.
But okay. So I think it was Kuka, maybe, who first recognizes Puck in conversation. It's just like, oh, hey, I didn't see you there, Puck. Like, they just casually know who he is. So he wasn't totally flim-flam, and like he is a known character on this island. It's not just like, who are you again? What is this guy? It's like, no, we all remember Puck because he was a total jerk. He was a mischief-making troublemaker. So everyone's got beef with him.
You know what's interesting though is that this is the introduction of them to Evelera or whatever. Shirke's.
Yeah, I don't know where Evelera came from then. Like, no, not a island elf, I guess. So just born out in the world somewhere.
I guess not.
But okay, sorry. There is kind of like a moment where they talk about Puck as like, oh yeah, he's the guy. Like he's the storm that brought all these people together, or something. Like they kind of like frame it as like, yeah, this is really Puck's story. It's about how he got all these people to come to this island. That's really what was going on this whole time.
It was kind of an interesting way to frame it. Yeah.
Man. Okay, yes. We get introduced to even more characters. Oh, I guess briefly, Flora's ghost apparently had given Gedfring a heads up about this situation. Also, like, hey, one of my favorite student is coming to visit you guys on the island, so be cool, or something. Apparently happened. But right, I think it was just his goat was old, so it took him a long time to get there to be like, hey. Turn off all the scarecrows and everything. We're not trying to kill these people. So, yeah, just miscommunication. You know, they don't have the internet, so there was no way to let everybody know. They couldn't odd to each other, I guess. They're not linked that way, maybe. I don't know.
Right.
Or else you just wouldn't have had an action scene with the scarecrows. So you just can't have that happen.
Yeah.
More new characters. We get introduced to the elders, like the other gurus. You got Skirble, the Perplexed, Thrain, the Resolved, and Gunnar, the Ponderous. So
I didn't write or remember their names. So.
I wrote it down because I was like,
those are the 3.
Hey, new guys, maybe they're important. They don't really do much here other than play chess and eat food and stuff. But
so they're the ones in the like tree dining hall thing.
Yes. Oh yeah, I guess all of this is giving Shirka like major flashbacks to her forest home or whatever. It's basically like a giant version of that. Like just houses made of trees and mages everywhere, like with pointy hats, which I kind of liked. It was kind of like, oh, it's like Harry Potter but more fun with just fun costumes and stuff. This is great.
Oh yeah. She sees, like, while they're walking in, like, a group of kids practicing, like, basic-ass magic, like, making something sprout or something.
Yeah, tree growth,
like, remembering that.
Enhancement.
That's how she that's how she like also kind of learned magic. That's like one of the basic things she learned.
Yeah,
first.
and like we talked about Morta's cleavage, but she also just flies in on a broom with like pointy shoes and everything. Like she's just the witchiest witch character.
Yeah.
You know, raven hair and everything. So yeah, classic Halloween witch. But okay, finally we get introduced to the last new character, I think, in this one, Danan the Domestic. Who's just another witch. Nothing special about her. Yeah. She's just a like curly-haired character. That is.
Well, she's like a maid or something because she's like cleaning up a bunch of stuff and asking the guys if they want tea.
Right,
and
which
stuff.
will she'll kind of allude back to later. There's also all these like Fraggle-looking characters, like these brownies, I guess they're called.
They're called brownies,
and they seem to be sort of the servant class, but they're happy about it. They're not worried about it. They're rolling stuff around and cleaning up things and preparing food and stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah, you're right. Danan also cooked all those treats, I think, right? Like there's a bunch of cakes and pies and cookies and things, and Casca is pretty excited about that stuff. But so is everybody, really. It's Dro's talking about it. Puck's eating a bunch of stuff. And
I mean, it made me hungry. I was pretty excited about it too.
The only person not excited about it at all is Guts, who's just like, can we like get on with it? Like, I'm here to meet the boss and get this done. You know, he's a little huffy about it. But they're just like, hey, you know, like it's been a long journey. Your party's really tired. Like, you should probably just relax a little bit. It's like, there's like, I think a humph or something at one point. But it's just like, hey, man, like, I know it's been 39 volumes to get here, but just relax. It's okay. And he has to adjust to that just a little bit. But yeah.
So there's like, this is the first volume I felt in a while where I was reading again, like really reading, because there's a lot of exposition and stuff that they talk about in here, specifically about the world tree and the fact that the spirit trees that are like in the forest, like the old place or whatever, and here or whatever, are all drawing power from it. And with like the destruction of Shirke's original home or whatever in Spirit Tree area, that made like the power wane a little bit, or was it go back into the world tree, which is why you can now start to see it in the sky?
Yeah, they kind of
like
describe
a bunch of magic talk.
Yeah, actually, Isma kind of comments on like too much lore, I don't get it, or something at one point, and like collapses. But yeah, it's all the spirit trees in the forest were kind of parasitic, I guess, sapping energy from the world tree. But now that forest has been destroyed, like the balance is out of order or whatever, like between the astral and the physical worlds, so it's spilling out all over the place. And they refer to the kind of big event that happened as the Great Roar, like when Griffith kind of shattered the barrier or whatever, and monsters appeared everywhere, like the mythological world spilled in. So they have a term for it, I guess. And I guess they allude once more to that elf kid that showed up as being an emissary of some kind, right? Like there's a thought at one point about that, just to clarify that kid's role. But yeah, there's branches up in the sky that have been pretty useful for sailors, I think. they mention at one point. It's like, oh, you just follow the tree limbs. It's great. You don't even need the stars anymore. Yeah. It's awesome. So, you know, pretty positive. They also, the elders say something to the effect of like, oh, like the forest of the spirit tree is just kind of a general term for all forests everywhere, or like all magic trees of any kind. Like it's not a specific region or anything. It's more of an idea, or like a astral forest or something, which was sort of weird, but yeah.
So does that mean that every forest in this world, it has like some power to it? I guess that makes some sense, right?
Like the trees they walk by in this world have like faces and stuff. Like they're almost like ents. Yeah. And they wake up and whatever. Like they're more tuned in or something maybe. But I guess that haven of trees or whatever where Flora lived is probably one such place of many maybe that are out all over the place, or at least were. I don't know if if it was that close to tipping the balance to the world tree being everywhere, maybe those bastions are dwindling and there's not many left, but I don't know.
Yeah. Some more important stuff happens in this giant talk, though, and that's specifically that Guts finally lets it slip that, like, hey, Griffith and I go way back, and, like, I fought with him in the old Midland Wars or the 100-Year War or whatever. Basically, this is the big thing where they figure out who he is.
Yeah, I guess I really forget
isn't fully there.
How solemn and quiet and not transparent he is with everybody about his past. But yeah, that's becomes apparent. And yeah, that they're asking him directly about, like, so you knew this guy? Like, you knew the guy that created the big roar and, like, changed everything? It's like, yeah, that guy. He wants a kingdom. You know, he's gonna take a kingdom or whatever. And then they kind of go, oh, okay. Really, he brought back an ancient metropolis, is what they say at one point. Like, you were right about the old city under Falconia is what has been resurrected or restored. So that's a thing these old gurus kind of know about a bit and are surprised by, I suppose. They also talk about...
I think they call it absurd or whatever. They're like, why would he do that? Like,
changing the whole world. I think that's kind of
why this comes up.
To take for your kingdom, that's utterly absurd or whatever. And it's like, yeah, well, that's Griffith or whatever. That's what he's about.
That's why it comes out, though, right? Because he says, like, you fought with this guy back then. Like, why would he do this sort of thing? And then that's kind of what was like, oh, okay, I guess I have to talk about this now.
I really don't like saying stuff. Like, I don't believe in therapy, but... I mean, fine, I'll let slip a couple details. Yeah. Okay. They also talk about the dragon path and the elfin path. Like, the elfin path is just like a whimsical little, like, oh, you know, if a kid gets lost in the forest and finds, like, a pixie or something, that's fine. That's the elfin path. But, like, the dragon path is, like, deep bores into the astral world or whatever, and that's kind of what Behelets enable. It's like the depths of the other place or whatever. So then it's like, oh, that fetish you have there is actually a way to do that. And it's like, what? And then he pulls out the Behelet, and a bunch of the mages are really scared of it. And Puck kind of undercuts it by saying, oh no, it's Isidro initially says, like, Mr. Potato Head, it makes me laugh. It's like, that's a really stupid thing to say, but okay. And then Puck starts flying it around at everybody to, like, freak them out. She's like, no, here, touch it. It's fun. Its favorite food is cheese. And they're like, it's so evil. So, you know, undercutting the sinister elements of the Behelit a little bit. But, yeah, it's fun. I don't know.
Yeah. So, we get a little more information that what they're used for is literally like a gateway to the abyss, is what they call it or whatever.
Sure. Like the ninth circle of the hell, but not, you know, just the other side. Low rule, if you will. You know, to high rule.
The dark world of the astral world or
like
whatever.
The gloom caverns in, like, Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes.
It's like that.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. It's exactly like that. Another quick thing that I just thought was funny, because it's such a dumb trope that happens all the time, but I really, really like that, like, as they all figure out who Guts is, Isidro's, like, not fully there, so he's like, wait, if you were around that time, then the guy that killed 100 dudes, you know him. It's like, no, you fucking moron. And I think they even, like, make mention of it where they're, like, so close.
Yeah, it's like, what? Like, how did you, like, you sort of got it, but no, like, how have you not put the pieces together? But nope, still doesn't know.
You've seen him kill 100 dudes, like,
a
easily.
lot. Yeah, you've like 10 sea monsters surely equals 100 dudes, but whatever. I guess that's before he had berserker armor, so, you know, it's still a feat.
Sure,
but yeah.
It was,
pretty silly. But there was a scene. Okay, so Isma and Isidro are just kind of screwing around. They're heading to the center of Elfhelm or whatever. Like, they're like, all right, we'll go meet the elves. Let's go. And as they're
go meet the king, I think is like,
yes,
finally,
that's right.
Now that they've eaten.
As they're walking, they're like, wait a minute, there's like no gravity, and they start like hopping around, like moon jumping and stuff. And Isidro and Isma jump up to this tree like effortlessly, And this scene really like confused me for a second because I thought what was happening was we were seeing Puck make a bunch of quips as he's bouncing around. But it's like...
Is that not what's happening?
It's like, no, it's all of his siblings like show up all at once. It's like Puck, Peck, Poke, all these dudes just appear on this tree limb.
You're right.
And start making catty comments to each other. And I was like, oh, that's not just Puck. That's like all of his crew is here. Like his brothers or something.
You're right, and that comes up, I think, a little bit later.
They really highlight it, and they like he's got kind of the onion head with like 1 point, and then his brothers have like 2 points or 3 points or 5 points or whatever, like to differentiate them just a little bit. But yeah, you have Puck's posse kind of like they have a fun bit with like, oh, this guy here though, this guy's really serious. We got to be serious if we're going to talk to this guy. And then they like put on their creased eyebrows and like, all right, Mr. Serious Man. And they're talking to Guts. It's like, this is funny. This is because there's just an explosion of like enthusiasm from all these creatures of just like, what? There's outsiders here. This is so great. And like, they're all talking to them all at once and like flying around, and like Serpico gets surrounded by a bunch of wind sprites and like nymphs and stuff, and there's like, oh, you have our powers, it's so cool, and they start floating him around, and everybody's talking to everybody immediately.
You know what this reminds me of? The moment, the scene in Who Framed Roger Rabbit, where all of the judge is gone, and like
just all the tunes spill onto the screen,
and all the tunes just come out of everywhere and just like are circling around.
Yeah, like there's just a hole into Toontown, and then all of Toontown shows up to see what went on and talk, and yeah.
This is Toontown because you have like little wood nymphs and I can't remember the names of the dudes playing the pan flute.
Yeah,
or whatever.
There's stuff in here too that remind me of like Disney's Fantasia, just like little dudes with like drumsticks banging on mushrooms and like just all sorts of
unicorns.
Pleasant, totally unicorns. Like it's the most like pleasant array of creatures we've ever encountered in Berserk. Probably like there's no negative vibes at all happening in this entire sequence. It's just everyone's super excited. I don't know. It was kind of nice. It was just like, yeah, this is totally different. Everybody's chill. No one's having horrible flashbacks or anything. We're just kind of having a good time. So it was nice. I don't know. I really like
the Puck family, just like being like, oh, we gotta talk to serious, like him seriously or whatever. That's very cute.
I feel like Guts even has to
one of them
lighten up
them?
just a bit in this scene, but yeah.
Like they even just like start the conversation with like, thou has done well, human, to make it this far. Like just dumb, like super serious talk. It's so dumb.
Yeah. It's a fun little scene. We also get described why everything's so light is like this other fifth element. It's like barites or whatever, barites. Which sounded kind of like midichlorians to me or something. It's just
midichlorians. I know.
Yeah. It's like, oh, this is the element that binds all the other ones together. Like this is the underneath everything. There's these. They're so small you can't even really perceive it. And it's like, it kind of sounds like the Force or something. So okay.
So the way they describe it is the Force essentially, because what witches and mages and stuff can do is like manipulate them accordingly. Also. Yeah. But it's not some of them, like the ones that make up a mass or something. Like, it's weird.
It's the concept of weight, honestly. I guess, is part of it. It's like they affect weight of things, and
They affect everything, And it is very much the midichlorian thing. And I hated it in Star Wars, and I kind of hate it here. But
you know, it's 18 years after clearly Mira, a big Star Wars fan. I mean, he's made Yoda allusions in this manga, so... He's probably tipping his hat to the king, you know, King Lucas over there.
Sure.
I'm just
King Lucas.
Joking around. But, okay. We also get reintroduced to, like, okay, I guess his name's Manihiko. I've been calling him Magnifico for episodes and episodes, but it's Farnese's dopey brother. He and Puck have a little aside about their scheme. And
isn't that his name though? I thought Puck was just mispronouncing it to be funny.
He might be mispronouncing it as like a bit. It's hard. I was just like, they keep saying it though, and like other people are saying it. Was I just wrong? And there's no character card to introduce him in this. Like I noticed at the beginning of every volume, there's kind of like the little blurbs on everybody. It's like, oh, Guts, his struggle is sublime and everything. But there's none for Isma, and there's none for this brother character. It's just like, they're just side characters. We're not worried about it.
His name is Magnifico.
Okay.
100%.
It is Magnifico.
Yeah, so
they're making some sort of joke on him, I guess.
Yeah.
And I've never been super clear on what their scheme is. It's sort of just like, oh, once we get to Elf Island, like, I'm going to help you stage a coup and take over, and then we're going to sell elf merch to everybody or something. Like, it was this dumb profit-making plan. And it comes to fruition here as just like this dumb joke that happens. But I will say, for like half a moment, I thought what was happening was like, no, like Puck was the king of the elves the whole time. Like, you didn't know. And it's like,
that totally.
Like, that would be the stupidest thing ever. Like, you're saying he had the power to restore Casca and just wasn't because of amnesia or something. And it's just like, no. He's just doing a bit. Like, they do this whole thing. It's like, and welcome to the king. And then like Puck comes out on the throne and immediately is like talking about how his courtesan or whatever, Magnifico, is gonna help like bridge the gap or something. And it's like, what are you guys doing? You're betraying elf kind. And then that's when Danan or whatever reveals that she is actually the power. Like, she's the flower matriarch, and pulls off her robe or whatever and reveals she's like made of flowers and has gigantic elf ears. And then there's a trial where this whole dopey subplot kind of comes to its end or whatever with...
There is a trial. Why did they waste time with this?
Because they've been talking about it for volumes and volumes. Like, Magnifico's a whole point for being here is this scheme. And yeah, it's just like, so you've betrayed elf kind, huh? Well, your punishment is to help the brownies for a whole day. No. Like, it's just this like total goof, nothing trial.
Yeah.
And yeah, manual labor for you, rich boy. No. So that's it. That's the whole bit. And then it's like, all right, yes, I am the leader. We will now have like a serious conversation about how to fix Casca, which is great.
Yeah.
Oh
man, the flower monarch or whatever is like so fucking hot. It's ridiculous, and I hate it. It's just
she kind of reminded me of Haru from like Persona, which is the curly hair. But yeah.
Oh sure.
Yeah.
But like with flowers.
With flowers
everywhere.
Yeah.
Flower dress or whatever. It's cool. It's actually like a pretty cool design.
Oh, there's a sentence I missed though from Puck though, where he's saying like, I want to be the king of idle living, which I thought was pretty great. I was like, yeah, resonate with that. That sounds awesome. But then I love that her like rebuttal to his desire to be king is just like, it's a lot of work, right? Like, you got to make pastries for people and clean up cherry stems and stuff. It really sucks. And it's like, oh, I don't want any responsibilities at all. That's my whole thing. So then it's...
That was a funny bit where she's just like, well, if you want to be king, then you got to do like what I do. You got to go clean up after people and make sure like our place is nice and blah, blah, blah. And then like the next frame, he's like, glory to the flower storm monarch. All hail Elfhelm. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
He doesn't want anything to do with this.
They had talked too about like infinite cherries are a thing. Like, there's this magnificent cherry tree and it's just like, oh, it's amazing. You just eat a cherry and it immediately grows another one. It's the best. But all those pits and stems, apparently the king has to clean that up. So again, the burden heavy is the one that wears the crown or whatever.
Totally.
But yes. Okay.
So, but okay. The important stuff now, though. I really love how she's like, okay, let's cut the bullshit. Like, you want, we know that you want to restore her memories or whatever, right? He's like, can you do that? She's like, yeah, probably. It's like, what? Okay, well.
There's totally a way to do that. Have you ever seen Nightmare on Elm Street 3? It's kind of like that, but better. We're gonna get in her dreams. We're gonna go in the Quarter of Dreams. And those connected to her, but not you, because you're scary, have to go in there and help her solve her problems inside her mind, which I was super game for, and I was glad we were getting down to it.
Totally.
It didn't feel kind of like last volume where it's like, all right, we're getting to Elfhelm, but first let's really just look around Falconia and just kind of like it. Last volume seemed kind of long and thinner This is like the shorter volume. Like it's only 188 pages, but there's so much happening.
It's dense.
Every page is like full of stuff going on. So I was happy.
Yeah.
And they kind of just get down to it. It's going to be Shirka and Farnese because they have like connections to the spiritual world, I guess, but also Farnese's bond with Casca is going to help her navigate these problems here.
Yeah.
And this is weird. Like as soon as we got in there, and they talk about like Danan says like you're gonna have to figure out the rules of this place and then solve it, and then we can restore her. And they go in there, and first we each get introduced to like a dream they're in. Like Shirka's having some sort of anxiety dream about the time she stole honey from the cabinet or whatever and got caught. It's really fun. Isidro's there as like a monkey. Like
as a monkey,
full-on monkey. He's like, what are you doing? You're stealing the honey. It's like, no. And then she's like a little chibi version of herself, like trying to cast like Golem or something on him, but like the tiniest little Golem comes out and can't deal with it. It's cute. Fun.
It's good.
But then it's like, wait a minute, this is a dream. Get out of here. And like hits him with her staff and then like runs through a door to get into the other dreams.
It makes sense that she would have the wherewithal as a mage to like recognize the situation and kind of break out of the dream state in her dream to like be the one to grab Farnese.
Yeah, Farnese is doing laundry.
It was cute.
And she's getting good at doing laundry or something. It's like, oh, I have this great scrubbing stone, and it's like the leader of the Holy Sea's head with like berserker armor.
I can't remember his name.
I keep forgetting this guy's name too. I just know I didn't like him. Like he's like that fire breathing monster guy from like the like Echo of the Eclipse arc or whatever. I meant to look it up before we did this, but I didn't. So I still don't know his name. We'll figure it out next time. Unless you're looking it up right now.
I mean,
but
I'm looking it up right now. But it's hard when you don't know something's like, name.
You know that like, fire guy, you know?
Oh, it's Mozgus.
Mozgus. I don't know if that's going to stick, something but like maybe if we say it 5 more times. But anyway, so she's using Mozgus's head to like as a scrubbing stone. And then, Shirka comes up and says, like, hey, you don't need to do laundry. We got important stuff to do. And it's like, what? And then they head through another door or whatever into a kid's drawing, which is the which is the kind of Elaine's, like, you know, dopey Casca's version of things is very simplified and straightforward, which was kind of nice. That was a fun way to visualize it. It's just like crayon drawings or something of these stick figure characters kind of walking around wobbly on like Fooly Cooley or something when they would mess around with art styles. It was fun. But they quickly...
It's kind of interesting, too, because, like, that to the next page... Well, not the next page, because the next page is, like, an eclipse picture or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, that to, like, the next scene or whatever, when they go deeper, is really stark, and it's just, like, super detailed, like, classic Miura, too many lines just depicting...
It's like, don't worry, I didn't forget how to draw or whatever. This is just a bit.
Like, it's crazy detail.
It's pure style choice or whatever to illustrate a thing. But yeah, you're right. They're like, we got to go deeper, and then they immediately manage to get to more important memories. And then they see this hound, I guess, like this dog.
Well, it's a desolate like wasteland with nothing in it, basically,
right?
And like clouds and an eclipse in the sky. And I guess if in this dream world or whatever, you have to like kind of really pay attention and stuff for it to even show it to you, because it's just like nothing, right? It's like ambience
or abstract,
whatever.
And
so
abstract.
So like they make out something in the distance, and it turns out to be a dog dragging a casket.
Yeah, chained to a casket, and then there's like spears or sticks or something stabbed into its back. It's scarred up. Pretty quickly, they notice it's missing a leg and an eye. So. It's
pretty easy what it is.
Yeah, it's a version of Guts. It's this Dream Realm's depiction of Guts, I guess. And they're like, oh, we got to find where Casca even is in order to help her restore herself or whatever. And they're like, wait a minute. So if this is Guts, she must be in this casket. So then they crack open the casket, and there's just this like shattered doll, Tim Burton doll in there. You know, it's just broken. And
The dog also has the mark that on the
that helps them
just as
put the final piece together, I guess. Like,
but we as the viewers,
they really help you. Like,
already.
even with Guts, I think that's the keystone for them. Is like, oh look, it has the brand. This is Guts. You know.
Yeah. The doll does as well, like over the brush,
I mean, he doesn't have a gun paw or leg or anything, so it's hard. It's tricky.
Not yet.
You know, he doesn't have his sword or anything. I don't know.
Exactly.
Yeah. So this is how they're gonna. And this was the scene that made me like for the whole show. We've been saying like, oh man, Mira, biggest footprints in the media game. Every video game of the last 30 years has borrowed some stuff from this guy. What a guy. But the structure of this made me think like, does he play video games though? Because this is so video gamey.
Take the Bloodborne
to me.
Yeah.
Like, we gotta find her memories, and like we gotta wander this open world and find the memory fragments, and then the doll will piece back together. And it's like, yeah, this is like how a game would do this, you know? Like this is how a video game narrative would structure itself to make you poke around and find the things of the story. But I was game for it. I was happy about it.
Also, they are periodically attacked by like these flying creatures with the spears that we saw in the dog.
Yeah, different waves of
every
monsters.
time they get to a fragment. So it is literally like you get to a checkpoint, you fight off a wave, and then you get a fragment of memory.
Yeah,
it's
so video game.
It's crazy.
Like, there's these flag things kind of blowing in the wastes, and then they become like giant like manta ray bat things that are flying at them. There's kind of these balls that turn into like daddy long leg kind of things coming at them. And they're able to use kind of exaggerated forms of their powers because it's dream logic or whatever. Like, so that little golem that was useless before becomes this like giant kaiju thing with like a huge flame wheel and is able to fight off a wave of them and stuff.
That part's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, we didn't say that in the doll is like a little mini like speck of Casca or something that's running around all crazy.
Yeah, it's smaller than Puck, they say. Like, they're like, oh, it's smaller than an elf. Look at this little thing. And yeah, there's this little tiny, like, it's clearly her hair, but just this little sprite version of Casca is like hidden deep within the doll. So that's like what's left of her personality or whatever in this diminished state.
It doesn't have a full face.
Yeah.
Or like a body even. It's like a stick figure wearing a dress essentially.
Yeah. But there's something cool about this metaphor, I guess, of the dog and it dragging this burden and trying to protect it and stuff. Like, it's kind of a nice, simple look at the dynamic or whatever. And yeah,
it's also kind of a cool, like, I think this really drove home just how broken her mind was when you like see it done. It's like, oh, this is how broken she was. Parts of her fucking being are spread across a wasteland while what's left of her is locked up in a casket that's being drugged forever by like a dog.
And I was kind of happy it wasn't solely focused on the sexual assault or whatever, like the femto rape. It's not just that.
Going to be the
That's
thing.
probably going to be like the final big piece or whatever. But like for this volume, it's just kind of like, no, it's kind of more about how her love for both of these people with opposing views ripped her apart or whatever. Like Guts has one view of the world, Griffith has this other. She has very deep bonds to both of them. What do I do? And it kind of rended her psyche or something, it seems, with how powerfully she felt at both times or whatever at the same time. Something like that. They kind of imply that. And you do get like two women who had crushes on Guts get to experience Casca's love for Guts firsthand in like a being John Malkovich moment, I guess.
It's really cool that, like, first of all, for us, like, who are fans of this thing, kind of revisiting these like really important moments in history and just like getting like an avatar in this world for like an outsider's perspective on it. And like you said, the fact that they kind of all have similar almost relationships with Guts, but in different ways. Like, there's the one part where Vernese is like, this is exactly how I felt when like he like rescued me the first time or whatever.
Yeah.
Because it's this like, I feel like my whole world has been shattered, and she's like, I recognize this feeling completely. Like, this is exactly what I felt or whatever. It's very cool. I really like what they did here.
And yeah, you get a bit of Casca's view of a couple events or whatever, like her fighting that Shark Knight guy and her disgust for him or whatever. Like, there's just little glimpses of how she felt about various events. And they're like in the Spike Jonesiest moment, there's like a love scene, like the love scene between Guts and her. And then it's like, Shirka, you can't see this. This is too intense. It's like, no, I need to research or whatever. It's like a corny.
Yeah, for research.
Horny moment. But yeah, I don't know. It was still kind of tasteful. It's like sort of first person from Casca's perspective. So you mostly see Guts. You don't actually get too much business going on. So for our center square on the bingo circle, there's not a lot of boobs in this volume. It's pretty tasteful. I mean, there's Morta's situation, but that's just cleavage, so whatever. PG-13.
There is in that one scene, but it's a memory, so I'm not going to count it, really, because like, we've seen it.
Yeah, we've seen it, and it's not that crazy. But yeah, I guess we're probably in a sweet spot just before the real traumatic stuff with the eclipse is going to be dug into next time. But they managed to piece together most of the doll, and it's kind of 90% there, 85% something. It's missing a breast still, and it's not animated or anything. But Tiny Casca has
like arms and shit though, right?
Yeah, its arms are restored, and its face is back. There's kind of a montage of memories at one point where it's just a bunch of pieces flying in. You get a lot of highlights on specific ones, like Guts versus Griffith in the graveyard, and when those kind of big moments happen. But then there's also just like a wave of like, oh, this was the first time she, succeeded in battle or whatever. Like, there's just little things. When they fought, I guess, when Guts and her fought at the outset of their meeting.
Yep.
Yeah, little moments. And then Tiny Casca actually has managed to be restored enough to where she can say something. What is it she says? It's like, I want to see.
She says, there's someone I want to see. Yeah.
Okay. But who is it? Which...
Well, that's where it ends.
I know, right? That's what it's like. This was a good cliffhanger. Like the Scarecrow's thing, it's like, oh, whatever, they'll be fine. This was like, oh, this was good, dramatic, stay tuned, next episode kind of thing. So, yeah. And weird, though, there was a short volume. Like, it was kind of like that one volume where there was, like, a old thing in it, remember? Like, they padded out the page count with, like, this was the first thing that was published. It's like a little pilot episode or whatever.
Yeah, the pilot. Yeah,
but yeah, this is the first time in a long time where it's like sub 200 pages, but like we said, dense in important stuff. So yeah,
a lot. Yeah, there's a lot going on in it being shorter. This made me excited to be like, yeah, we should like do this podcast. So right when we're done this, I'm gonna read the next volume
because this could be the moment. This could be Casca's back. Like even just hearing her tiny,
I'm so excited.
Inner self talk was like something. It's like, okay,
yes,
this character actually has like a point of view or a perspective again, instead of just like, yeah, I love eating cakes and biting seagulls or whatever. Like just the nonsense she's been doing for 30 volumes. So yeah, optimistic. We didn't mention the magic mushroom bed, which is where all this is going on, which is so great.
Sure. It's pretty good.
Like if you're
breathing in the spores, going to sleep.
If you're going to go into the corridor of dreams, like you should probably be sleeping on a giant mushroom. And I kind of glossed over it, but yeah, Guts was basically denied to be a part of this ritual because he's too scary. Danan kind of detects the fear and the negative energy between Casca and him right now. It's just like, you're gonna mess up the ritual if you're a part of it. So yeah, we don't really. There's a moment where you kind of get to see like Guts is the dog in the dream world, but he's also appearing periodically as versions of himself. Like just young Guts when he fought Casca, or like right after they made love, his back and everything and all this. He's depicted, but I was kind of like, oh yeah, we don't get to see Guts's dreams because I don't know what those would be. We don't have to see his corridor of dreams, I guess. I imagine it would look kind of like the Berserker armor world when he's deep in it or whatever, but it's hard to say.
A lot of black or something. A lot of unfortunate rape scenes as a child.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I guess this how stoic he is a lot of the time made me reflect back on a couple volumes ago when we got another little scene of kid guts. Like I actually appreciate that more in hindsight as just like a bit more of his character.
Yeah.
Because he's such a cipher a lot of the time. He doesn't like saying stuff. But he does open up a little bit when they're sitting around waiting for the ritual happening. He's kind of like, hey, I really couldn't have made it this far with all of you guys. Like, you taught me the value of teamwork or something. Like, he has kind of like a vulnerable moment with Serpico and Roderick or whatever. Like, they kind of have a little, like, hanging out with the guys, wine drinking session, which was nice.
And after each one of them says a thing, the other ones say, are you drunk?
Yeah. It's like, I might be. I don't know.
That happened a lot.
I never say anything, so, yeah. But it's cute stuff.
It was a nice thing. Yeah. Like, what was it that Guts was saying? That as soon as he had to protect Casca, like, the sword became heavy because he could no longer die or whatever, essentially. It was like...
Yeah, he can't live on the edge the same way because he actually has the burden of responsibility in a way. Like, he has something he cares about more than himself now. And Serpico talks about how jealous and angry he was, and it's like, yeah, I really wanted to murder you a couple times, but I'm glad it worked out or whatever. Like, Farnese needed to be here, and like I think her bond with Casca helped her become a better person and stuff. So gave her something to work towards as well. So yeah, they have kind of a nice discussion. What is Isidro up to?
Roderick said he wants to drown in the sea, wine, or women.
Yeah,
and that was his contribution.
Yeah, that's his goal. What's Isidro up to during any of this? Like, I kind of lost track of him. I think he's just eating or hanging out.
They're all partying.
Yeah.
Oh no. Yeah, they're all just drink. I think they're drinking, actually.
Oh, yeah. Isma gets drunk and transforms into a Muro in front of everybody just to show off. It's pretty funny. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm totally a Muro. Check it out. Oh, no. My pants or whatever. My underwear.
Yeah. In that, her undies.
Yeah.
In that scene particularly, as soon as I read there go my undies or whatever, I was like, wait, what the fuck is going on? And it took me a second to realize
like, it's like she transformed her legs into a tail without changing clothes or anything. Just right. Pretty good. But yeah.
Isidro's impressing the witches with tales of their adventures, but saying that he did everything.
Oh, yeah. It's like, that's when I swooped in with my trusty dagger and took them all down or whatever. He's blowing all these young mages' minds. And I liked Ivalera got a bit of a scene where she gets to chum it up with the fairy folk or whatever. They're like, you were outside the island? What's going on out there? And it's like, oh, okay. I'll tell you some of our gorgeous adventure or whatever. And then they go off to spill the tea or whatever. It's fun.
Let me spill the tea. Yep. Yeah, exactly.
There's actually a lot of like straight up tea drinking.
Like a line dance.
Yeah. Azan's getting a cup of tea and drinking it through his helmet. Like, he's still not revealing himself. So, yeah.
It's good. This has been a fantastic volume. This was one of my favorites in a while, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's got a bit of like end of a journey feel, like I guess kind of before the final confrontation or whatever, but it sort of feels like a goal has been achieved or is being achieved at the end of this one. So
yeah,
pretty great. Yeah, pretty big thumbs up for this one.
This is like, okay, you've played D&D, so you probably get this feeling or whatever, but when you are doing a session or a tabletop thing, or I guess even a video game, depending on how you play video games, you have like a main quest, and then you have a bunch of side stuff you can do, or as you do your main quest, you fall on this like band of goblins or something, and then you find an item that might be super powerful, so you kind of follow that trail for a while. But it always feels good to get back to your main quest at some point and like be back on that track, maybe a little more wise or like experienced, literally, if you're talking about mechanics, but also just like knowing more about the world. And this feels like we're back on that line now. We went out, we learned a bunch of stuff, collected some party members, but we are back to Casca, who is the most important thing in the world right now. So
yeah, we're back to you're right. We're back to the main quest line. Because, yeah, we were saying about, like, the sea god and stuff. It's like, this is fun, but this totally feels like a side adventure, like a DLC pack or something. Like, this is a bit like the tale of the sea god, and we're off over here fighting a bunch of crazy creatures and goofy pirates. And it's like, like, we're trying to get to a place, though. Like, this is sort of just delaying us from getting to the thing I want to see. And now we're finally getting to the thing I want to see. So, yeah.
And, like, that stuff's fun. To be honest with you, the Berserker armor is kind of the same stuff. Like, that was kind of a side quest as well. Like, we haven't been on the main quest line for, I feel like, a while now, to be honest with you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I mean, like, the Berserk armor definitely enables higher tier stuff
it had to happen.
To be dealt with. And,
yeah,
like, Shirka, like, I feel like Shirka joining is super important to learning more about how everything works and getting the lay of how to even deal with some of these things. But you're right. Like, like, I like Isma, a little superfluous. Like, yeah, we kind of have bonus, like, Vincent has joined the party, like, side story people coming in. Yuffie's here. It's like, sure, but this isn't important to the main antagonist relationship or whatever. So, yeah, I guess I also like last volume we were kind of bemoaning like how much time we were spending not with the party. It was nice to spend an entire volume with the party. Like, we weren't cutting away to. Meanwhile, like, you know, Rickard is having a heck of a day or whatever. It's just like, I think we were okay. Yeah. Like, I want to see the main thing roll forward as long as it can before we run out of volumes. Yeah. So, I'm at least glad there was
we're about to run out
a rich volume somewhere in the tail end of it. So, yeah, positive feelings all around. I don't think I missed any goof. Hopefully these gurus really pay off too, though. I like the goat and Gedfring and everything. They had a cool, you know, ancient mystic Radagast vibe going on. So I want more of that.
Yeah,
but we'll see.
I'm a bit worried because I know the next volume is, I think, the shortest one available.
Oh,
like out.
Whoa. Okay.
So what I'm thinking is they're probably going to do whatever they're going to do with Casca, and like
Casca's dream world will be sorted out, and then yeah, okay.
What the repercussions of such are going to like come to pass, and then it's going to end there, and that's kind of where the series ostensibly ended.
Yeah,
like for everybody up until like me and Ben originally, but then you as well started this thing last year, because 41 came out last year, and that's kind of when the Berserk train started going up again for everybody.
Okay,
but like the next volume is kind of the hard stop of like this might be the last thing Mira ever releases, sort of thing. Even though he released 41 and died shortly after, I believe. 40 was kind of like, I think, the big last thing. So a lot of people were worried before 41 came out that like that's where it was going to end forever. So I'm excited to go into the next volume with the idea of how would I feel knowing that 41 and now 42 soon didn't exist at the end of this. Would I feel okay, or would I feel gross, or what?
Yeah. I was kind of like, had it ended with this one, it wouldn't exactly be like a satisfying conclusion to the Griffith versus Guts situation, but there is sort of a narrative to be looked at where it's like, well, you could look at it as like Guts wanted revenge, but he cared about Casca more, and restoring her became his mission instead. But you still need to deal with the state of the world, I guess. But like for his personal journey and like, you know, choosing connections with people over his lone like gunman kind of thing he was doing at the beginning, there's still like a lot of development and change to appreciate. But yeah, you still need to, you know, go throw that ring in the Mount Doom or whatever. You can't just be like, well, you know, Sam and Frodo are friends now, isn't that great? And then it's just over, you know, like that's not that's not how you would do an epic saga. So hopefully there's something conclusive to be seen. But I guess I'd hope I'd be able to still appreciate the vast majority of the journey of Berserk, even if the last few are really wonky, because it's like, well, he died. I mean, what are we gonna do? There, it's a tragedy. It's a lost work in a way, but a lot of things happened. So, yeah.
The plus side is we're not going to have to speculate because there is a volume after the next one. There is a 41 and a 42. That
I think I'm just kind of trying to guard myself for disappointment. If it's like these are really weird, totally. And it's like, well, it's sort of an unfinished cut or something. Like it's going to be janky, but I've had enough positive things happen throughout the course of reading thus far. That's like, oh yeah, great manga, but hopefully we get a cherry on top, I guess. So we'll see.
What I'm assuming happened was they probably, like to use the Lord of the Rings analogy, they probably wrote like the full journey up to Mount Doom and the throw-in and everything. But then they realized that they didn't write anything after that part yet. And there was a real, like, Tolkien now, like, doesn't know how to, can't finish the story because he's dying. So what are they going to do? They'll just release it up to that point. And, like, if they have to call that the stopping point, then so be it. That's fine.
Oh, like, yeah. Like, sure, like, if that had happened...
40, they just cut it off at a good cutoff.
But then Tolkien has that part of the story where it's like, and then the hobbits return back, like, with all the experience from their adventures, and they're able to deal with this threat in Hobbiton or whatever. And the movie doesn't even do that, but it's sort of like, oh, this is the application of all their lessons and their growth as people or whatever. And I kind of like that part. But I totally get how ungangly that third movie would be if you're just like, it's 5 hours because we got to deal with the leftovers of Saruman's army or whatever, like whatever's going on. It's just like, that's weird. That's dramatically weird. Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's why the next one is a little shorter, because they're like, you know what? We could like wait for the next thing or whatever and then make this just as long by adding 2 more chapters or whatever. But this is a pretty nice stopping point either way. If the worst happens and we can't do any more, then like this is a fine note to go out. That's what I'm hoping is like how it's the next one's going to end, even though like I was saying before, it doesn't matter because 41 and 42 do exist.
That's right.
So
yeah, big stuff coming up. So hopefully it goes well. But yeah.
Do you like, we'll talk about this more when we're actually done. I'll speak for myself and then ask if you share the same thing. I get this bittersweet feeling when something I really like is at an end, and then I just like feel empty.
I was like, well, that was that. Yeah, it's like probably when I was like playing the Nier games or something. I feel they lean into that.
Yeah.
Because they make you delete your game when you're really done. Like they know the attachment that's developed or whatever. I feel it's like a pretty sweet way of capitalizing on that. But yeah, I guess so. Once you're at Journey's End or whatever, and there's nothing left to get out of it, it kind of becomes bittersweet and nostalgic. And, to use the Inside Out analogy, like the memories turn blue, like they were all yellow before, but now they get a little melancholic at the end. And you're like, oh, that's it for that. But yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I've never seen that movie, but I understand that analogy either way.
It's a pretty good movie. Spoilers, I guess. Cool. There's emotions in it. That's all I'm saying. But yeah.
That's the only thing I've ever heard about that movie, so I believe it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Berserk. So do we have any emails at the email address or
we do.
Okay. What's that address?
We have an email
again?
at I have gone berserk@gmail.com. It's the address where Dead in Sky wrote in and said, try filling out your bingo card you made last episode for this episode's volume. And if you didn't win this week, blame the story from 1,000 years ago. This is causalitying from Things for the Show.
Yeah, not all boobs in this one. So we couldn't use the center square.
I don't actually have.
Yeah.
I don't have the bingo card.
We just kind of have to remember what we said. But yeah.
No.
Oh, wait.
Even better because we're running long.
I drew a square.
Do you have them?
But I didn't actually fill it all in. I just drew boobs in the center. So, yeah.
So, for next time, I will get the squares again, use a generator. I will send you and me one.
Okay.
And then we can see for the next one, which is
this one would be tough because
anyway.
There's nobody goes berserk. There's not a lot of gratuitous nudity. It would mostly be
there's a lot of flashbacks,
whimsical stuff and tea parties and stuff. So it'd be pretty fun, I guess. There is flashbacks, though. You're right. So not complete reset, but okay.
So we'll do that for the next one. As long as I remember, I will grab all the squares and then I'll make us up ones for when we do the thing, and we'll do a conversation on it, because it might be a shorter episode either way.
Because it's a short volume, right? So yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a fun suggestion. Okay. That'll be it, though.
All right.
That's it.
Yeah, thanks for joining us for this important volume. And keep berserking out there, but this volume's tone, maybe just have some tea and a nice sit. That's really the vibe of this one. Reflect on your memories.
A good sleep.
Yeah, just have a good sleep on a mushroom or something. It was pretty sweet. So, yeah. Quarter of Dreams.
You heard it here. Nathan wants you to have some magic mushrooms and take a good sleep.
Yeah. That's what I said.
See you next time.